To our understanding of the spinal cord, a particular type of paralysis is still called Brown-Séquard syndrome. Yet he was far from an ivory tower academic. He once spent months battling a deadly cholera epidemic on his native Mauritius, a lonely archipelago in the middle of the Indian Ocean. True to form, he intentionally infected himself with the disease by swallowing the vomit of patients in order to test a new treatment on himself. That nearly killed him too. His Richmond professorship did not last the year. The Frenchman's eccentric ways and darkish skin proved too much for the southern capital. So he moved back to Paris to spend the remainder of his career shuttling between France and the United States. All told, he spent 6 years of his life at sea, which would have made his late sea captain father proud. Yet despite his near constant state of motion, he could not outrace old age. By his 60s, Brown-Séquard had fetched up once more in Paris as a professor at the Collège de France. His friends included Louis Pasteur, as in pasteurization, and Louis Agassiz, one of the forefathers of American medicine. The poor orphan from far Mauritius was inducted into the French Legion of Honor in 1880, followed by a slew of other prestigious prizes, culminating with his election as president of the Société de Biologie in 1887. Confirming his status as one of the leading men in French science. He was 70 years old by then, and he was tired. Over the previous decade, he had noticed certain changes overtaking his body, none of them good. He had always buzzed with frenetic energy, bounding up and down stairs, talking a mile a minute, then interrupting himself to scribble down his latest brilliant idea on the nearest scrap of paper, which would vanish into a pocket. He slept just 4 or 5 hours a night, often beginning his workday at his writing desk at 3 a.m. It had been suggested by his biographer, Michael Aminoff, that he may have been bipolar. But now, his once boundless vigor seemed to have abandoned him. He had evidence, too, because he had long kept track of his body, measuring things like the strength of his muscles and keeping careful records. In his 40s, he had been able to lift a 110-pound weight with one arm. Now, the best he could do was 83 pounds. He got tired quickly, yet he slept poorly, if at all, and he was tormented by constipation. So, naturally, being the scientist he was, he decided to try to fix the problem. On June 1, 1889, Professor Brown-Séquard stood before the Société de Biologie and delivered a keynote address that would forever change his career, his reputation, and popular attitudes toward aging. In the talk, he reported on a stunning experiment that he had performed. He had injected himself with a liquid made from the mashed-up testicles of young dogs and guinea pigs, which he had augmented with testicular blood and semen. His idea was simply that something in younger animals, specifically in their genitals, seemed to give them their youthful vigor. Whatever that was, he wanted some. After a 3-week cycle of injections, he reported a dramatic turnaround. To the great astonishment of my principal assistants, he claimed, I was able to make experiments for several hours while standing up, feeling no need whatever to sit down. There were other benefits. His strength seemed to have returned, as his tests confirmed. Now he could hoist a 100-pound weight, a significant improvement, and he was once again able to write late into the evenings without fatigue. He even went so far as to measure his jet of urine, and found that it now traveled 25% farther than it had prior to the injections. With regard to his constipation issues, he noted proudly that the power I long ago possessed had returned. His colleagues in the audience were torn between horror and embarrassment. Extract of dog testicles? Had he gone mad in his old age? Later, one of his colleagues sniped that Brown-Séquard's outlandish experiment had proved only the necessity of retiring professors who had attained their 70. Undeterred, he made his magic mixture, now fashioned from the testes of bulls, available for free to other doctors and scientists, in the hope they could repeat his results, which some did. The reviews from his peers were still scathing. Harumphed one Manhattan MD in the pages of the Boston Globe. It is a return to the medical systems of the Middle Ages. Outside the halls of academe, though, Brown-Séquard became an instant hero. Almost overnight, mail-order entrepreneurs began selling Séquard's elixir of life, 25 injections for $2.50.